Hello, everyone. My name is Atishay. I'm the author of Hugo in Action. Today, we are going to talk about content management with Hugo. Before I get started, I have a short poll that I've sent a link to in the chat. If you could fill up the poll for me, it will be a lot easier for me to tailor the content of this session to meet your needs. We'll just spend 5 minutes on this poll, or just a minute or so on this poll. The poll has three simple questions, and I'll fill it up for myself. I don't say before, yes, and yes. I'll be waiting for the results here so that I can handle it properly. Static folder. So Hugo added the capability of having an assets folder for uncompiled versions of your scripts, which would move into the static folder which would move into the equivalent of the static folder once compiled. You can still keep the static folder if you don't want to compile those scripts. Similarly, images are needed at multiple places. For example, you have a big image that you put on your single page, but in the list pages, like the index page of your website, you want a very small thumbnail of that image. And creating those images each time is a very manual process. Therefore, what you do is you put the big image in the assets folder, and then Hugo can take care of converting it into multiple sizes for the actual rendering. We realize that content is also not just what we said it is. So web pages are the primary content, which lives in the content folder, but there can be other associated data. For example, you could have a price table in your e-commerce website or subsection like community. And we can map the exact same thing inside of our source code. So the blog is a folder which maps to a section or a folder in the website, which has a community subfolder, and it can have its own pages. This is how you would in general organize content in a Jamstack based website. Enough talk, let's get to some code. So I'll show you again what the content folder looks like, which is the exact same mapping. Let me show you how a simple web page looks like. So this is the about web page for Hugo in Action, the Acme Corporation website. This web page has two parts: the front matter or the header section and the body of the web page. The front matter can be written in a variety of metadata languages. Hugo supports 3. This is YAML. You can also use TOML or JSON for this. The body can be in any markup language, which includes HTML, Markdown, RESTXT, and ASCII-Doc. Markdown is the most popular, and it's used in GitHub and everywhere else. And most of you are comfortable with Markdown. So we'll just talk about Markdown. I won't spend too much time on it. Markdown is a very simple format which provides all the information that you need in a very textual basis, and you can read it properly. You also have Markdown previews built into your tools like VS Code and even GitHub. So using Markdown is fairly simple. You write your document in Markdown and you push it to Hugo. Hugo takes this document and converts it to a web page. Now, thing to note is that Markdown also supports inline HTML. So if you want to say use a floating image, like image float equal to right, and Markdown doesn't provide a float option, you can directly put a HTML tag in Markdown and it will be rendered as is. So let's render this website. I'll click on Hugo server. Hugo serve and Hugo servers do the exact same thing. This runs the dev server of Hugo. This is not how you run it in production. In production, you would run the Hugo publish command and take the output and render it for the end user. Let's get into a browser and go to localhost 1313/about. Localhost 1313 is the default port with Hugo. You can override the port. And the same Markdown document that we just had is rendered in a website by Hugo. The content is still the same. The Markdown has been converted into beautiful HTML. The styling is provided by CSS, JavaScript, however you want it. And this is being rendered based on that theme. The other thing to look at is, I'll now generate the full website. To generate the production version of the website, all you need to do is type Hugo, press enter. Hugo generates the website, this one in 547 milliseconds. And then what you can do is, you can look at the complete generated website that would be going on the CDN. So if you look at this website, you have a about folder with the index.html, which is equivalent to about.md. Let me show you the folder structure in parallel. So we got a folder called about, file called about that went into about/index.html. We got a subfolder called blog that went into the blog folder, which had a community subfolder. And all of these turn into folders and index.html, which is sort of the standard way of hosting it on a web server. The asset folder is processed by Hugo, but in general, the concept is that the web page goes in content and the images goes in static. Why did we build such a system? Because this is what we do every day. We create web pages. We built this because we came from this solution, where the web server and the application server were two different things because of performance reasons and the architectural limitations. We don't have this limitation in the Jamstack. Then why are we splitting up files into two folders? And that is what page bundles is all about. Why don't we create a bundle which has this file and these images together and put that in the content folder? It's a lot easier for content authors because you take this bundle and you put it in there. You don't have to work across two folders. You don't know what the path to the files is. And that is what page bundles is all about. So let's do that and see how page bundles can be done through live coding. So this is my content folder currently. You see about is a single page. What I'll be doing is making a folder called content/about, and I'll be moving content/about.md into content/about/index.md. A bare minimum, we should still have a site running. So I'll do Hugo server, go into Firefox, just refresh to make sure that our site is functional. But it certainly not solve the job. We need to move the image. The image right now lives in the static folder. And this is how the static folder looks like. The background is shared across the entire website. The logo is shared across the entire website, but this draw.jpg is only meant for the about page. This doesn't belong in the static folder. This should go into the about folder. Let's do that. Move static, image, draw.jpg into content, about. That's it. The image has been moved. Now let's get into about index.md. And let's change the path of the image. Now we don't need an absolute path because now the file is relative. Another advantage of putting these relative paths is that now if you open the Markdown preview, GitHub and VS Code can render that image properly. So now let's solve this inside of Hugo. This page works correctly, and this draw.jpg is a part of this page, which means if you save this page using a browser, you'll get a folder which will be corresponding to this page and this image. This is the core concept around page bundles. But we do have a problem. Let me show you what the problem is. You see this? A folder was meant to be a section just like blog, but we just turned a page into a folder. That can be a problem. To solve this, what Hugo does is it renames the index page inside of a section to be _index. Remember that we are creating web pages most of the times. The number of sections of the website change very rarely. Therefore, on day-to-day basis, this is what we should be optimizing for because this is what we use on the day-to-day basis. So on a day-to-day basis, we'll be creating index.md, putting all the files associated with about in this folder. And on a rare occasion, we need to create a section. We'll use a _index file. If I rename this file to index.md, then all of these pages will not be rendered as they'll become parts of this page. While if I rename this to _index, Hugo will treat this as a section and try to look for sub pages inside it. And that is not what we want. Now, if you remember the static folder, we also had this news.jpg. This news.jpg belongs to the index page of the news folder. Now, of course, since news is already a folder, we don't need to convert this underscore index into another folder. What we can do is we can move this static image news.jpg into content news. That's it. And then we can go into news / underscore index.md. And in this file, we can refer to this image. Now, I just showed you how you can refer it via HTML. Hugo supports this standard Markdown based image rendering as well. Now, if we serve this to the end user and we go to /news as an endpoint, you'll get news and also the content of the subpages. So let's take a back and let's look at a summary. Let me clear my screen. So what we have is folders which contain everything associated with that folder. Now, a section folder is different from a page folder. This is a section folder. This is different from a page folder. Therefore, there needs two names. Hugo calls this a section page bundle as a branch bundle, since it can have multiple leaves. Well, this is a leaf bundle in Hugo. The blog has underscore index, so it is a branch bundle. And it can have a community as a branch bundle because it also have underscore index.md. You can still have individual web pages. You can use bundles and web pages interchangeably. Let's look at the generated page. So I run command Hugo. It builds my website. And let me show you what the public folder looks like. Now in the public folder, the about bundle is ready as a about folder, which has both the draw.jpg and the page that refers to it. Same is in the case of news, which is the cleanest way to do it. While you see this image in there, this is there because we did not clean the generated folder. If I had done public and then I generated this, these files would have been gone. So let's talk about the advantages of page bundles. The advantages of page bundles are, number one, it makes life of the content author easy. And remember, we are authoring content every day while we change our layout really. Because you can put all the stuff at one place, you don't have to move stuff at multiple places. It makes your page portable. You can write a page in one Hugo website, take it, copy it as is to a different Hugo website, and it will continue to work because all that reference material is present within the page. Hugo does a lot more work for page portability. For example, having the ability to define menus in the front matter, which is all discussed in Hugo in Action. But with page bundles, we get a lot of portability, ease for the author, and practically a cleaner looking system which matches with our sitemap much better. Now that we've done page bundles, I'll go into another concept of Hugo, that is taxonomies. This is one of the most important content management concepts within Hugo. To understand taxonomies, let's go back to the traditional database that we had in the traditional system. A database is not just a table for web content. A database is called a relational database because it is meant to store relations between entities. The entities are represented in tables, and then you have relationship between those tables in the form of 1:1, 1:many, and many is to many relationships. Now, if we move this one web page, we lost that relationship somehow. And that is a problem. That our solution to move to the Jamstack created. Let's see how Hugo would solve this. Let's start with the 1:1 relationship. Well, the 1:1 relationship doesn't need anything. There's no page tags table. So in a 1:1 relationship, what you would do is in a web page, you would put another column with a path to another web page, and that's it. That's a 1:1 relationship. In 1:many, on the side of the many, you can put all the links. For example, say you're building a movie website and every movie has sort of one director. So you have a movie table and a director table. If you put the name of the director in the movie table, then you got one is too many, because in many movies you'll have one director, and one director can have many movies, but a movie cannot have more than one director. While if you want many to many, for example, say movie and actor, then you need an actor table which has the actor description, and a movie table which has the movie description, and then you need this intermediate table in a relational database which says this is a link between this movie and actor. You can get more information about the actor from the actor table, more information about the movie from the movie table. And in this example, it's web page and tags, so you can get more information about the tag from the tag table, more information about the web page from the web page table, and this table is mostly holding the relationship. Now, to represent relationships in Hugo is actually very simple, because Hugo takes care of managing this job for us. For all the three entities, here are the changes that we need to do. Tags, which is also a table, turns into a folder. That makes most sense, right? We created a folder for content for web pages. We create a folder for tags. Each tag has a file inside this folder. The web page are already files. Now, to specify a link between them, what you do is in the Hugo config, you tell us that tags is a taxonomy. What that means is tags is a special type of a thing which provides relationship between web pages. And same are categories and series. Then in the web page, you just provide a list of tags that you have, like you would do in a document database. Just provide that list. Hugo takes this information and then compiles this into what we need, relationships. What Hugo would do is, Hugo would go back to the sitemap approach that the Jamstack follows. So you'll have a /tags location in your website, which will be a mapping to this folder. In this tags folder, you can have individual tags. Even if you don't create those files are logically created as soon as you enter the tag name in your content. So you don't have to create a shape file. Hugo would create it for you automatically when it renders, if you've added a tag shape to any of the web pages. And this linkage would be done automatically. Let's talk about some official nomenclature before we get into the code. Officially, a taxonomy consists of two parts, a taxonomy list and a taxonomy term. A taxonomy list corresponds to the name of the table in the relational database. So tags is a taxonomy list. You could have series as a taxonomy list, categories as a taxonomy list, while an individual row will be a taxonomy term, for example, shape. All the data that went into this table called tags will go into this file called shape if you want to add it. If you don't have any other information, you don't even have to create this file, and Hugo would create it for you. And once you tell this in the config, Hugo will do this relationship mapping for you. You don't even have to worry about the relationship mapping. Let's see this in code. So we already have this website and we don't have any relationships right now. First, to understand relationships, we need to go into the Hugo config and inform Hugo that you need to have tags as a taxonomy. This is what the config folder looks like. The config folder contains your various environments. For example, this is the configuration for the dev environment, the production environment, and this is the default configuration. And when Hugo compiles the production configuration, it takes this default configuration, takes the override from the production folder, and creates your production configuration. And same is what it does for the dev configuration. Now, Hugo already has two taxonomies defined, tags and categories. So technically, if you want to use tags, you don't need to define those taxonomies. That's done for you by default. But for the sake of this session, we'll be creating the taxonomies for ourselves manually. So taxonomies.yaml, that's the file that we'll be creating. This will contain the taxonomies of the website. Let's open taxonomies.yaml. In this file, let's add a bunch of taxonomies. A taxonomy in Hugo is not just defined like what I showed in the slides. It's more like singular plural. So tags, categories, and maybe say if you want to have a taxonomy called series, then you'll have series. Why do we need singular and plural? Hugo is good at web development, but it is not good at English. And when we want to write those taxonomies, we need both the English words for plural and singular, because because a web page can have multiple tags, but each tag is an individual tag, and Hugo cannot possibly understand how do you pluralize a word, and Hugo is agnostic to English or to any other language. Hugo supports multiple languages for creating websites. So that's all. That's why we need to define it twice. Once we do this, we can do Hugo server and run our website, and then go to /tags. Oh, sorry. I think I reversed it. So this needs to be tag/tag. You know, I always get confused. No, what went wrong? Yeah, I was right. So tags. The website has the following tags. We haven't created any tags, but we created the tags folder. So we told Hugo that there is tags. So Hugo created the virtual tags folder for us. Now let's assign some tags. Let's go into about index.md. Let's give it a few tags. For example, tags : general. And this page talks about manufacturing here. So I'll just give it manufacturing as a tag. Then we go into, say, the manufacturing process web page inside of our blog, and we give it a tag manufacturing. That's it. Let's render the web page. Now let's go into tags, refresh this. Hugo automatically created the tags is the taxonomy list, and general and manufacturing are taxonomy terms. And as you can see, like in the taxonomy term, you get the term as a variable with which you can access all its pages. Now it created a web page for general automatically for us, and then it created a about page link inside the general page. The about page also has access to its tag. It also has access to all other tags with the category general, and so does the folder manufacturing. And what it can do is it can then take those other pages and render them properly. So if you say I wanted to do related pages like other pages in the manufacturer with the manufacturing tag, you could take this variable manufacturing and put the page, get the pages and show them in here. Hugo also has a feature called related pages, which optimizes getting related pages based on multiple taxonomies that we mentioned in Hugo in action. But for the purpose of this session, we'll just talk about creating taxonomies for having content. Now we haven't created a folder for taxonomies. And even though we did not, Hugo automatically created a folder for us. But if we want to, we can go into the content folder and create tags as a subfolder. This is the first time we're creating it. Now in the tags folder, we can create a file called manufacturing.md if we want to give additional content for manufacturing. Similarly, we can create a file called mytag.md if you want to create a new file, a tag which doesn't have any pages yet. And if you run Hugo server, I need to go to the parent folder. If you run Hugo server and go to tags, wait, it did not refresh, I think. No, I created the tags folder, so I need to create an _index.md. So cd content, cd tags, touch_index.md /_index.md, and then I need to tell Hugo that this is of type taxonomy. So render it as a taxonomy page. Oh, live coding is not fun. Taxonomy layout. I hope I've called this layout down. I think I'll call the layout taxonomy. Okay, the demo gods are not with me today, but I'll need to figure out what the theming structure for this file is. But in general, we can define our taxonomies and have the individual files for them, and they would automatically be linked by Hugo. Okay, I just deleted the tags folder. Let me see if at least the traditional tags are back. Right, so tags are back. We can provide information for the manufacturing page. Maybe this theme does not support that information. So you can still, like, Hugo can provide variables, but you still need to use it in your theme. And that may not always be possible. So let's summarize what we did today. We talked about the scaling problem that we have with a traditional stack, and why we came up with Jamstack as a solution, which puts too much emphasis on a content folder, but provides us the ability to organize it as a sitemap. Then we have the concept of page bundles, which can make the life easier by keeping the stuff that used to live on the web server and application server into a bundle. And we have a concept of taxonomies that shows us how relationships work. This is not all in content management. In Hugo in Action, we talk a lot more about stuff. For example, how we properly do stage and production environments, which I teased through the config today. We also have content templates called archetypes in Hugo, which are like in a form like the MySQL database schema, but they are very helpful in creating a placeholder for the content with which we can generate our content and fill up. Hugo supports a lot more than Markdown. We can extend Markdown using a concept called shortcodes. And we did not even talk about the rest of the Jamstack. For example, working with images. How do you do a small image, a big image, a large image? How do you write a template code that was similar to how PHP does inside the Hugo land? How do you work with themes, layouts, and the other parts of the Jamstack like APIs and JavaScript in Hugo? All that is present in Hugo in Action. Thank you.